What's up? Can you guys hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. No, yes. Anyone? Anyone? Can you hear me? Burr? Yep, there we go. How's this? Is the sound volume okay? Not too much fan, I hope. Try to move the fan away. Ah, okay. All right. I don't know where Kevin is. Yo, Kevin! Kevin. What's up? Kevin. I think he left. Kevin. Kevin. Your fans are waiting, Coach Kevin.
I have fans.
I mean, only fans. Of course. No, your fans. Your interweb fans. Oh, side control videos. Nice.
My hands are fans.
You know what we have to talk about today? Oh, man. Did I call it or did I call it?
Well, you're the one who said that pushing wasn't the start of a fight, right?
No, I did not say that at all. You were misconstruing my events, my comments. Did you see the video?
I think so.
You think you saw the video?
I heard there were 2 slaps, but I only saw one.
Hold on, you know what? I might be able to even pull it up. Hold on for a second.
Are you allowed to pull it up?
That's a good question. Hold on.
It's on the internet.
Let me see. It's all over the interwebs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I might have some echo here. Sorry, I'll get rid of that echo. Let's see if I can find it.
Oh yeah, I had thoughts about it.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Hold on, let's, I don't know, let's open this up. Let's see if this works. All right, I'm gonna put it right here. Let's see, can I do this? No, that won't let that happen. What if I do this, and then I start to play it. Here we go.
Does it have sound?
No, it was just, oh, do you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, so that was one.
That was 1.
Oh,
Was that 2? I didn't see 2.
no, now this is the 2. And you're not gonna be able to see it because of the shadows, but you can hear it. I don't know if the people at home can hear it, but
Yeah, this is where I turned it off, so.
all right, so if we go back, let's see, will this go?
I think the slap is the appropriate response to the shove, though.
Hold on for a sec, let me try this again.
See
Oh, but there's all sorts of stuff that goes on down later in the room. They're still watching it over here. So you see Andre's like still shouting.
Wait, which video are you
This
showing
one.
the public?
This is the one. That's live right now. Oh, I don't know why this. You know why? Maybe it was what? That's weird. Let's see. Is there maybe no? Oh,
Is this like another take of it, or is it the same video?
Look at this now.
Now they're talking.
Now they're just peacefully talking about the place of De La Riva in modern jiu-jitsu.
I bet they're talking about respect.
Respect. No, that's what Andre was talking about. Here we go. Let me put you back on. You're enjoying that, huh?
I don't know.
All right. There we go. I don't know. We might get taken down for that little event, but I don't think. I don't think so because there's no music on it. Usually they don't care about music. Man.
I don't know. It's I have different perspectives.
So here, let me set the stage a little bit.
Okay.
Because what you can't see in that video is something that Gordon Ryan talks about in his press conference. He talks about it in general, where he says after the match between Craig and Ronaldo,
Yeah.
Ronaldo, whatever, he went over to shake Andre's hand.
I'm like a gentleman, I'm sure.
Like, well, you know, he
Like
went
a
over. You could see
complete with no undertone at all, pure
Whatever.
respect.
I'm sure he went over.
Not at all
He
antagonistic.
went over. Well, here's my question. I don't know why Gordon went over. I don't know why Gordon was coaching Craig.
Aren't they all the same?
That's a good question because John was there. And so you would think, I'm not sure if John went over to shake Andre's hand and Gordon went over to shake his hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like maybe to that point of like, did Gordon even need to really go and shake his hand at all to even get that kind of reaction? You know, I mean, I don't think it was it a smug like, hey, good job, whatever.
Yeah, of course it was. Like,
well, we don't know that though.
Of
But you know, Gordon says that Andre flipped him off, which is
not
respectful, and then kind of like backstage, and you could hear it you couldn't hear it in that clip, but you could hear it if you go to, you could find the full clip with sound on the internet, I'm sure, somewhere, but you could hear Andre saying, like calling him a faggot or a pussy or something.
Shouldn't do that.
And then like coming up behind him, like as he's walking to his press conference, and then, like it was just as they closed the distance, and then there was a push, and then a slap, and then another slap.
So, were the slaps warranted, or was Andre just defending his space?
Were they warranted?
Yeah, like should Gordon have slapped Andre? Or we could take it a step back further. Should Andre have pushed Gordon? Was it good too?
What do you mean good? As in, was it?
From your perspective,
like in the terms of like
good or bad, if you had to choose one.
Good in the terms of us from a physical like self-defense perspective, or good as in like
from your perspective.
I thought the whole thing
as
was
a human being. If you were in Andre's position, would you do the same thing?
No.
Why not?
Totally unnecessary.
The shove?
No, the whole thing.
Well,
like saying like backstage, saying anything, calling names, all of that stuff.
So why'd they do it?
Who? Why did Andre do it?
Yeah.
I've actually been trying to figure out what Andre was thinking, because here's my kind of like, I don't know, question about the whole thing. If I'm going to go backstage, to another, I'm a professional, I'm like one of the best ever, right? I'm Andre Gabal, and I've done MMA. I'm a fighter. He's a fighter. He's a real fighter, right? Like,
he's done MMA. I wouldn't call him.
He's a fighter. I'll give him. I'll say he's a fighter. But okay, whatever. I go up and I'm gonna start talking and insulting someone. Right. I have to be prepared. If I'm gonna do that, I have to be prepared for a fight. I wouldn't like if I did that. I would be. It would be because I wanted to fight you.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm going to come up and call you names on camera, in front of, that was in the backstage, that area was not in front of everyone, but there were people there.
So are you saying, does that imply, do your statements imply that Andre was asking for it?
No, I'm saying from my perspective, if I were to say, if I were to go out of my way to call, not you, but someone a name, like that, aggressively.
And they responded with
No. If I'm ready to fight.
You're ready.
I'm ready to fight. I want to fight.
Yeah, you're asking for a fight.
No, I'm not asking for a fight. I'm there to fight. Right? We're going to fight. I'm not going to call you names if I'm not already prepared to fight.
Yeah.
Period. I'm not going to call you names and see what happens. Right? I'm not going to call you names and instigate and provoke, and then be like, I wonder how Gordon is going to react. I wonder, is Gordon going to call me names back? Is he going to? We going to do a little scuffle?
People do that all the time.
I know, but I'm saying from my perspective. I'm saying maybe by implication what I'm saying is that maybe Andre didn't fully understand or all the permutations of that or consequences of what he was doing. What could happen, right? One of them has to be, I'm just gonna crack you across the face.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I feel like that's asking for a fight. I don't know, that's semantics.
No, I'm saying, but I don't want to say that Andre was asking for a confrontation.
Yeah.
I don't think he was asking to get slapped, but you have to understand, from my perspective, I don't call anybody, Never mind
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan, a professional fighter or MMA or whatever, a jiu-jitsu guy, right? If I call you those names, then I'm like, we're grown. Like if we're in high school or something, even in high school, you probably still get into a fight. But like, I'm not calling you names so that we can have like who can come up with more creative names to call each other.
But
Contests.
that's a great part of like entertainment fight sports, right? Like an angry person calls another person a name, and they get angry and they market it. And
This is why it's confusing to me, because some people have thought that it's all part of like this like scam, or not scam, but just a way to promote the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone would agree to look the way that Andre turns out to look in this.
I was thinking about that, and I think as bad as it looks from like a jiu-jitsu perspective, I think, or from like a fight perspective, it looks amazing from an evangelical perspective, right?
Because he turned the other cheek.
He turned the other cheek, right? And what's interesting is like I think the entire community, everything that I've read about it, everyone's like, oh, he should have hit him back, like he should have started this fight.
He shouldn't have started it.
Well, like
whether he should have fought back or not, he should have started it.
The idea was that from a lot of people that I read, especially on Reddit, literally the only place I read, if you get slapped by a person and you have an MMA record,
if you're
hit him, fight him. Like there's an expectation that you should be like this fighter person. But
this fighter person.
But like
yes.
Andre,
you should fight.
That's the idea.
You should fight. Someone slaps you in the face, you should try to hit him back.
But I think at his core, and I like to think this is like a sincere, genuine thing from him, just like based on interacting with him. But I think at his core, he is a Christian who does jiu-jitsu, and not a jiu-jitsu person who is a Christian. And so like, even though like, I think it doesn't look great. Especially as like I used to be like really pro Atos and on Atos.
Sure.
And it's like part of me wishes that he would have hit it back. Like it would have been cool. It would have made me feel proud of the team I used to represent.
Take that.
But on the other hand, like I do appreciate that. Maybe it is bullcrap. Maybe it is, but at least it appears that he's sticking to his values, even against like the entire community who thinks that he shouldn't. And I think that's valuable.
If it had been something that I thought that Gordon had instigated, that narrative would make more sense to me.
Well,
because I thought the same thing. I kind of considered the same thing.
As far as the physical confrontation goes, I think Gordon was the instigator in that. He was the first person to turn and like enter into Andre's space, whereas Andre was chasing him down. Like that was like not great, but like. Gordon comes in and like starts like
Gordon
catalyzes the physicality of it, I think.
Yes.
And
I don't think to that point. I think if Gordon had never slapped him, I don't think it would have ever been any physical. It didn't look like Andre. I mean, and this was borne out by all the subsequent events. It didn't look like Andre was actually about to hit him.
Yeah, it didn't seem like.
Or get into any kind of fight. It just seemed like he wanted to lecture him about something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
He's gonna.
But having said that, I don't get the whole like provocation part of it, right? Like
which one?
Well, if I'm just acting like the good Christian and I'm modeling, Jesus' good behavior here, I'm probably not going to provoke the person into slapping me so that I can turn my other cheek.
I also think that maybe it does seem like, especially if Andre was flipping people off, that seems like a person who is in a state of emotion, like where they're thinking not.
He's not thinking.
They're not thinking.
I don't think he was. He was not.
He's not like, I'm gonna try and live the most Christian thing that I can do right now. It's like he didn't expect that loss to happen, probably, and it probably.
I mean, really? You think? Because I thought pretty much everyone expected that loss to happen.
Nah.
That was not even a close match. That looked like.
I didn't watch it.
So it was. It was. You know what? It was like the one you're talking about, Craig and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this guy Ronaldo's really strong, explosive. He's good. I mean, whatever. He just is.
Yeah.
no match for Craig Jones. Like he had nothing for Craig
Sure,
Jones.
but-
And so Craig,
but I'm sure
basically
Andre
once he
was-
was done, he got a little tired from like running away, right? He just got heel hooked.
Yeah.
And it was not, and this is not in any way, I'm not being critical to Ronaldo, right? Like Craig Jones is one of the best guys in the world. This is one of Ronaldo's first high-profile no-gi matches with heel hooks,
Yeah.
right? Against a legit, like not just legit, one of the best guys in the world, right? Like I don't mean to suggest that Ronaldo was, his jiu-jitsu sucks or anything, but I mean, come on, right? I mean, you can believe in your guy, and
Yeah,
I
that's
commend
what I'm
him for
saying.
that.
Like
But
Andre was probably.
I wouldn't be that upset about it, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
You should be upset. Like
Well,
you should be upset.
You'd be disappointed, right? But I wouldn't be to the point where I'm like flipping off the other side.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like I appreciate that Andre gives that much of a shit like about his students.
No, that's
like,
not that
I
good.
like
No,
that.
I like it too.
I,
No, I mean, you
I
should.
don't like the occasional like slip ups of like self control with the
We're all human.
the mat storming and
We're all human.
It's not great, but like it is nice that he cares.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I think the other option of that is worse. But
I mean, you can care without storming the mat, or care without insulting other people, or care without giving fake lectures about respect.
Can you show people that you care without storming the mat?
Yeah.
You could say it. Maybe.
No.
But like when you storm a mat, people know. People know for sure. People.
Well,
are
then
like,
you're really more
"Yeah,
concerned
he-
about what people
I'm
think
not
as
sure
opposed to
Andre
like.
cares about his students. Be like, nah, he stormed the mat 1 year, gave up worlds that year just to stand up for his student. That's how much he cares. Like,
Or just how much he's not in control.
maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to see inside his head, but it didn't. What struck me was that it didn't.
He cares so much he can't control it. That's how much he cares.
It's not a good look in any way, shape, or form. The whole thing.
No, I just
is-
described one way where it looks good.
I mean, it was. It's an interesting point of like, people. Even though I think the instigator was definitely Galval in this case. Does raise a question of whether Gordon should have slapped him at all, right? I mean, I think in the jiu-jitsu community, we generally privilege like, hey, if you insult me, I'm going to slap you. And he didn't like hurt Andre, right? It wasn't like he like punched him in the head. He hurt his feelings and he hurt his reputation, and it's probably standing within the community.
I don't know if he hurt his reputation.
He hurt his
Not like,
reputation.
it's not like he.
Bad.
Not his jiu-jitsu reputation. He's not any worse at jiu-jitsu for taking.
No, but
slaps.
his rep is bad now.
Why? Like if they started fighting, it doesn't mean anything. Like
It does.
Andre
It
does
does.
MMA, great.
It does.
Like he's not even a fighter.
I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not passing a judgment. But the weight of the community is, based on like you're saying, Reddit and Facebook, and social media. Now, that may just be the vocal minority. That's certainly possible. I've heard the other side of it, of people saying this is a disgrace, right? Like this is bad for jiu-jitsu as a whole. And I think that's true, right? Up to a point.
So you just mean in terms of what, like?
But like on the scale of things that are bad for jiu-jitsu, like public debacles that are bad for jiu-jitsu, this is really low at the end of it, right? I mean, nobody got killed. There's no like sexual abuse involved. There's it's kind of two big boys
But
who
we're
are
talking
having
about-
a little slap fight.
We're talking about its effect on Andre.
Yeah, well, so that's two different things, right? Like some people have said what I'm saying is some people said this is bad for the community, right? As a whole, like it's showing something that these are the two best of the best supposedly, and they're behaving like
So how
little
does,
kids on the playground.
how does
or
getting
worse.
slapped by Gordon ruin Andre's
I think
reputation?
I can say it ruins it, but I think
Degrades,
it
takes away from.
it lessens it. I think it
Lessens.
hurts it.
In what way?
Well, I think there are a good number of people who have the opinion that when you get slapped, you should fight back.
Yeah, but slap fighting isn't jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but there's this sort of the idea of the fighting spirit, and I think people, just as much as I think the jiu-jitsu community privileges or has privileged, MMA fighters, right? I think they privilege the idea of being a fighter even not an MMA fighter, but being like having a fighting spirit, if you will, and not being, I think it goes to something very deep in the reason why people train jiu-jitsu, which is an idea of empowerment. I think a lot of people, I can't speak for everybody, but I think I'll speak for myself and other people that I've talked to, that people start doing not just jiu-jitsu, but martial arts out of a feeling of, or a desire to become empowered, right? Not to be bullied. And so I think that animates a lot of people's feelings about reputation in the community, which is to say, the people who stand up for themselves are, and sometimes even if it's not 100% correct, like in terms of an ethical perspective, if you err on the side of standing up for yourself and, against the bully, or at least fighting back, that's something that is valued within the community.
I think that that's valued within the modern martial arts community. I would agree, right? Like, kids or parents sign up their kids to prevent their kids from becoming or being victims of bullies. But I would disagree in when I grew up doing martial arts, it always ended up being that the goal of becoming a martial artist was, and I always thought when I started jiu-jitsu, like that was just a thing that they told kids because the martial arts didn't work, right? But like the idea was that when you become a martial artist, the idea was that you won't have to use your martial arts, like unless it's absolutely necessary, right? Like it's cheesy and it's hokey and it's something that you tell kids.
It's kind of true up to a point.
Up to a point, right? Like this situation is not one that requires a fight to happen. Like that's
True.
It's not an appropriate event. Like both of those guys are professional fighters. Why should they fight for free? Like it doesn't make sense for either of them to have a fight break out.
I think that's why Galbao didn't fight, because he wasn't getting paid. He didn't get his $1 million, so he could probably, Gordon could have slapped him 1,000 times and he wouldn't have fought back, because until he gets the check, he's not going to fight back.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, Gordon in a sense is getting a pass. I don't think that I'm not going to fault him for, well, maybe I will.
It seems slightly reactive, which I.
What do you mean reactive?
Gordon, where it didn't seem like he didn't stop, consider it, and then slap him. Like Andre pushed him, and then like it just seemed to come out of nowhere. Like I don't know how long the delay was, but it didn't look like
it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think this goes back to the idea of like, and this is something that Gordon has talked about, right? And obliquely, not directly. But like when he was talking about his upcoming match with Wagner Bocha, and in his fashion, Gordon, they asked him like what he thought about the fight coming up with Wagner, and he mentioned that Wagner had picked on him and bullied him at one of their first or second matches when he was like 17 and he was like 175 pounds, and he was saying like he really was looking forward to beating up on Wagner, especially because Wagner is a bully on the mat. I don't know, he might be the most lovely person in real life, but on the mat he is known for particularly grindy, kind of like literally smother the other person. He pushes, does that pop to the chest pop.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's a very pleasant person to grapple, and which whatever. I mean, they're all professional athletes, so I mean that's not a criticism, but. The point is that Gordon was talking about essentially getting some revenge, and they asked him what do they think that fight is going to be like. He's like, well, I'm gonna torture him until I get bored, and then I'm gonna finish him. And I mean, Gordon is probably going to have. I mean, Wagner just had a match with Kyle's guy. What's his name? Big guy.
Big guy, Dennis.
No. Yuri Smith.
Yuri.
And so Wagner is bigger now. Like he's gained, he's back. I think he must be close to 200. But Gordon's gonna have 25 pounds on him, and Gordon's level now is so much higher that I believe it. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is this idea that Gordon, and I don't think he's alone in this, is like if you push me, I'm going to, like if I feel like you've insulted me or you're trying to bully me,
yeah,
I'm gonna jack you up. And if I can't do it right now, I'm gonna do it later, right? And so I think the attitude, that mentality,
of like, if you push me, I'm gonna punch you or I'm gonna slap you. Like, you can't, if you disrespect me, then I'm gonna lash out at you, right? I think that's something that is human, right? It's natural.
I agree.
Especially when you've gone from like the kind of the skinny kid, you know, kind of disrespected, you know, or feeling at least disrespected, underestimated, certainly hated, right? And now that's kind of his brand is, you know, I'm the best guy ever, and I'm gonna kind of rub it in all of your faces as much as I can. So I think that may have been, if I'm trying to like do my little pop psychology and analysis of Gordon in that moment, I think he just had a guy who, you know, I think if anybody had pushed Gordon, he probably would have slapped him across the face.
Probably.
That's also a very Henzo thing, right? I'm not saying Henzo Gracie himself, although it is, but the idea, I often say this, like, Henzo, I don't know Hauf, but I did know Hein. You know, Henzo is really nice, and he is very generous, and he's the type of guy that will, like, literally give you his shirt or his jacket or whatever. But if he feels that you're disrespecting him, you're gonna have a fight, like a real fight. Like, there's no question, right? Like, maybe for whatever reason it doesn't happen now, it's gonna happen later, right? And I think this is an attitude that is, I don't want to say prevalent, but I think it's one that kind of pervades or at least informs athletes from, and this is not just Henzo, this is Hauf, this is Hein, there's a brand here, right, of, you know, it comes down from the sensei, so to speak, right? So it's definitely not a let's turn the other cheek kind of mentality.
He did seem like he'd already made the decision, like I got the impression that it was like, if this escalates, I've already got my hand ready. You know, I'm ready, the thing I'm gonna use are open hands. You know, I'm not like, it seemed as though he knew that he had to respond.
Well, he's showing in a way, he's showing a little restraint, right? Because
yeah, exactly.
It could have been, you know, call me a name and then I just like lay into you, right? And we're just gonna have a total brawl. Or it's just gonna be like, oh, you're disrespecting me, I'm gonna slap you across the face. That's what you get. You get a little taste, right? That's almost like there's some restraint involved. You have to commend him for that.
I don't know. It seemed more like that was the way he does things. Like maybe like.
But you know, he has not. Well, it kind of could cut both ways because Gordon has not. I've never seen him lose his composure. Other than, and I haven't seen this video. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it. I mean, I have seen it, but I haven't watched it in a long time. There was an altercation between, I don't know if it was him or Gary or both, and Munch and the other guy from Marcelo, Dylan Dance, formerly Marcelo. And they got into a little bit of it. This is 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if Gordon was involved in that, or if that was a Gary thing, or what it was, but you know, Gordon doesn't generally lose his composure in matches, even when somebody's trying to be, you know, trying to roughhouse him, you know. So, I don't know. It is definitely interesting. Now, my other question is, I mean, we can kind of try to figure out what people were thinking in the middle of this. I think just Gordon was like, you're going to push me, I'm going to slap you. You're going to call me names, I'm going to slap you. That seems like not a totally inappropriate, or not at least an unexpected response, let's put it that way. And I really don't know what Andre was thinking. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't start your lecture about respect off by calling the other person a faggot, right? I mean, it's just not generally, respect has to go both ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost comical that he was sitting there talking about respect at that moment.
Yeah, it's colorful language. I don't know.
I just didn't know what he thought the end game was. I don't know that he really considered, like.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, if you're willing to throw out strong language like that, like, what are your views on respect? And like maybe maybe they are a little weird, and maybe that's why Gordon can't meet them.
What's interesting is that he had already just had a conversation apparently with the guy, the head of ADCC, about, now not clear whether, I don't think he signed anything, but you know, the guy was like trying to negotiate essentially some sort of agreement about the match, and then this happens. So it's you know, the big question on everyone's mind is, does the match happen or not now?
I don't know.
I think, I'll answer my own question. I think whether it has to go to, I mean, who knows, but I almost think for Andre to get some redemption here, in the eyes of the community, to the extent he cares, he has to fight. He has to compete.
Well, luckily, in the eyes of the Lord, he's still.
I mean, look, if he wants to have a discussion, you know, and have Jesus, you know, weigh in on this, that's fine. Like, I respect that. If he feels like, you know, his religious beliefs all of a sudden, you know, preclude competition.
I don't think they would all of a sudden preclude competition. But
If Jesus says he needs $1 million to compete, then, I mean, let Jesus be your agent. Okay. I don't know. I think in order to save a little bit of face, he's at least got to go back and actually compete against Gordon now. Because if he slinks off into retirement, and this is the last we see of him, that's going to
it's
be
not like
a real knock on his legacy.
I don't think Atos will immediately die if he stops competing.
No.
You know?
Well, I mean, I think.
Yeah, so it's not like it'll be the last we see of him.
No, but I mean competitively, right? Like,
But this is even, I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird fight because he's just already, it seems like he's already out of his prime. It's like the longer it takes to happen, the less it matters, you know? So if this like keeps getting pushed back and all these incidences keep happening, I don't know.
I wonder if he's already. You know, what I always like to imagine, or not imagine, but I always wonder is, you know, how does Andre doing against the studs in his gym? How does Andre do against Hulk? How does he do against Kanan?
Well, you'll have to subscribe to.
Do they? Yeah, but even when they have those rolling
Yeah.
or sparring, you know, it's curated and or semi-staged. Like, I'm not gonna go, even if I could, clown my instructor, you know, on the you know, on the live stream.
Yeah.
You know, but what I'm wondering is, you know, does he I mean, because Gordon has beat Hulk, he's beaten Kanan,
Yeah.
you know, and if those guys are giving it to him at the gym, then I don't know, maybe this is a morale thing, maybe this is I don't know if I can win this kind of thing, like, you know, crisis of confidence.
I don't know. He's getting old and he's got a lot of miles on him. So
Here's the thing that, you know, there would be no shame in his retirement, right? If he just said, no, I'm done.
there is shame though, because he's
Well,
he's
now
supposed
there's
to know, like before, because he was supposed to do the super fight. Like that was
Yeah.
like that is.
Well,
his
he could have
responsibility.
just said, like, I'm done.
Well, yeah, but that's shame.
And that would have been, no, I mean,
that's shame.
no, why?
Yeah, because he had the super fight.
He just
you know?
makes something up, says, oh, I have an injury, I don't know, whatever.
He made it.
I'm gonna focus on my
He
team.
wants $1 million. It's fine. Shame.
I don't know if it's shame. It would be less shameful to just retire,
Sure.
right? Or you know, I mean, you can't get into his head. I don't know. We're just making stuff up here, but I don't think there's any shame in going out and losing in a big match to anyone.
Well, there's
As long as
shame
you fight well.
There's
and you-
shame in losing. What are you
I
talking
mean, there's
about?
no shame in.
What?
like,
There's shame in losing.
no shame.
Yeah, there is.
Not at all.
Then why don't people love to lose all the time?
You may not love to lose, but that's not like shameful.
That's.
You don't have to be ashamed, right?
You
Like,
don't have to be, but it's.
there's
there.
no reason to be shamed.
Oh, that's not true.
Why?
Because you lost.
So what? People lose all the time.
Yeah. they
Nobody
shouldn't-
wins
they shouldn't be
forever.
ashamed.
Nobody wins forever.
They shouldn't be like
Nobody wins.
permanently ashamed.
Nobody
of it.
wins every
You know,
match. There's no undefeated
Everyone-
anyone
everyone's-
except for Floyd Mayweather. He's the only one who's
Everyone
undefeated.
has wet their pants at some point, right?
Yeah.
Shame. You
No.
know, like you can. It's
Well,
shame and things. You
Well,
can
we're
be
just
ashamed
expressing
to lose.
personal opinions, which is
No,
fine.
it's-
My personal opinion is that whether it's an MMA fighter, a jiu-jitsu athlete, like a little kid who competes, if you go out and you compete and you do your best,
Yeah.
and you've worked hard,
That's
you
good.
win or lose, you have nothing to be ashamed of.
Not always.
Well, again, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
You can have your opinion. This is
Yeah.
my opinion, and I recognize it's not.
I think
it's
there
not-
should be a little bit of balance to it, right? Like a little shame, not too much. You know, shame implies that you had expectations for yourself, right? Like you have standards and you didn't meet them, and now you feel bad about it. And
Yeah, you
that's
can feel bad, but I mean, I agree. You can feel
You
bad.
don't have to.
You don't have to be ashamed.
You don't have to make a complex out of it. You don't have to like internalize it and make it part of your identity. But like, you know, it's just like I feel bad now because I didn't
Yeah, yeah.
do the thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That feeling, I'm gonna give it a name.
This is like what,
Call it shame.
like every. Well, I mean, I think there's shame in the sense of like, I think shame is different than disappointment, right? You can have the disappointment of.
But disappointment almost implies that you never really expected to get the thing, and then like it was like But shame is like I thought I had a chance, and I didn't even get close to it. Like, what was I thinking?
Well, I mean, okay, right. If
Shame's okay, not too much, not too much.
all right,
A
well,
little bit.
whatever. Maybe there's a little bit. Okay, I'll grant you. Maybe there's a little bit. I don't know why, but the more you talk shit about things before you get up there, right? So if you were to talk shit and then get obliterated on the mat.
Yeah,
Then
shame.
maybe you should have some shame. Then I'll agree with you, right? But if you go out and you do your best and you're always respectful, and you lose, there should be less shame, right? Maybe not
Yeah.
no shame, but less shame.
But you know, like when people lose, what do other people say? What a shame.
That's not the same way. They're not saying you ought to be ashamed, right? They're just saying that's a shame, right? It's a different thing. So I don't know. You know, Abu Dhabi's still like another year away, isn't it?
I thought it was this.
Is it this summer? I mean, okay, 6-8 months. I mean, I think Andre looks pretty good. He looks like he was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can get into fight shape again, but
You know what makes it look even worse is that you know who's come to Andre's defense and is ready to fight Gordon?
oh, Gabby, I saw that. I didn't listen to it though, but she looked mad.
Yeah, she was pissed.
She looked very
I don't know
upset.
why.
I think she and Andre are buds,
Yeah, maybe.
but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that's not a great look either. Really.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if it's turning into like a Brazilian versus American thing, because my brain has a tendency to associate Gordon Ryan's overall attitude and approach to competition with the overall American attitude of like self-aggrandizement, is that
Okay.
correct? Or like self-promotion and like, you know, respect
I'm
not
the best.
necessarily
I'm the best. I'm here to win. You guys all suck.
versus like the old school imported from Japan, like respect, honor, self-discipline, loyalty, all that stuff. And like to see.
Yeah, but that's not a Brazilian. Like none of that
Well,
stuff is like.
that's, I'm not saying that, this is just my brain.
Right.
So like, I can't tell if it is a Brazilian thing, because Gabby's also Brazilian, right?
Yes.
And like, I don't know if like she's coming to his defense because it's like.
Nobody picks on my old friend.
Yeah, you
Well, I
know,
mean,
like if that attitude is, or if she is siding from him on Andre's side because of that same shared attitude that I would think is more old school versus, you know, Gordon's, which is. So I think I was talking about this like last week or the week before. Like I think this is gonna turn into like a cultural war, like not a real one, but like a representation of the shifting of the culture away from more traditional ideas, and especially in terms of like how to deal with people, not necessarily technical application of jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean, as things as more money comes in, and you know, Gordon, he makes money based on his mouth,
Yeah.
as well as his performance,
But
right?
judo and jiu-jitsu, at least judo, like it didn't start as a money-making.
Right? No, but this is what I'm saying, right? Like these concepts
Yeah.
of honor and respect and dignity and you know, even just common courtesy, you know, are, I want to say relics, but they're,
Vestigial.
I don't know if they're, I mean, I think they're important, but they are, you're right, they come from a different cultural and even societal, right, kind of idea than, you know, than let's make money.
Yeah.
It's not it wasn't, you're right, a commercial endeavor.
And now sport, now that it becomes, at least for Gordon, it's big money comparatively. The more he talks, the more money he gets.
So if Andre and Gordon are both fighting for money, they're both professional fighters. In this case, would Andre be in the wrong for not having that attitude?
No, because in every sport, you have a spectrum of people, and some people are going to be the trash talkers and the disrespectful people, right? And that's just kind of their personalities coming. That's their brand. And then you have other people who you never hear anything about them.
Is that true of all sports that come from martial arts?
What's that?
Is that true of sports that come from martial arts?
No, I mean,
judo?
I think I'm just thinking of basketball,
I was
football.
thinking judo. Does judo have that much trash talk?
I don't think that judo players have the platform. They don't have the freedom. I think they are constrained by these notions of respect. You have people getting into fights in judo matches. There was just a video I saw of a judo, I don't even know if it was a big level or a high level judo match or tournament, but people get into fights, they get upset with each other. I've seen and I've heard even from from my judo coach, about how it goes down, right? Like when you're in the training room. It's not all even in Japan, there's lots of stories about abuse basically, abuse in the training room and outside the training room as well, and hazing and things like that. And I'm sure amongst the competitors there is probably some pretty harsh rivalries and people talking smack to each other, but that doesn't bubble to the surface as far as I'm aware. Like in terms of someone like a Travis Stevens, or he's not even, he was a silver medalist, but somebody who's current, he's retired.
Like the best. Like
you don't see the top guys. At least I don't. You don't see them on the internet talking smack about each other. Usually, now, maybe I'm just not subscribed to the right pages, but there's definitely. They take shots at each other, right? Like I remember trying to think there was a famous match with Travis and a German judo player, Ude Legrand, I think. No, he's French. I forget his name, but anyway, it was the one where Travis has the thing wrapped around his face. He's like a mummy, and I think they interviewed that guy about that match, and he was kind of like disrespectful to Travis in terms of his perceived abilities, and he was just a thug, and he didn't really know any judo, so that's why he had to make it a fist fight, blah blah blah, and
he didn't know judo, so he had to fight him because he couldn't beat him with judo.
Yeah, that's basically like.
If he doesn't know judo, beat him with judo.
Well, he turns it into a fist fight, right? Like, so it's kind of like that's the.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. No, but it doesn't have to. I'm just saying that sometimes they're less than complimentary about each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think it gets to the level of like anybody saying I'm the best in the world. Nobody else should show up. You all suck. Gordon is now at this point. He calls everyone cowards because they won't compete against him.
Does he call them cowards?
Maybe he doesn't use that specific word, but he says they're all afraid to fight him, and nobody will sign fights with him. And he's getting bored, and now he has to take matches with guys that are 25, 30 pounds lighter than he is, because they're the only ones with the cojones to step up and take their beating like a man, against Gordon Ryan.
If only he could come.
It was like he might even. I think he might even take the match with Gabby, because there may not be. She's probably the closest to his weight class that he's gonna get.
That would be interesting. I don't think
people would watch that for sure.
They should put it in the gi. I would watch that. I think
Make it even.
I think she would do well.
Just do better.
If it was in the gi,
He's gonna in a no gi. He will embarrass her badly.
yeah, that's what I want to see.
In a gi, she might be able to hold on a little bit better, but outside of a gi, there's just no way. And she's amazing, but I just don't see how she can. He's made the biggest dudes look silly, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago. He just clowns them. Roberto Jimenez, he's a really good guy, and the only thing that he did in that whole match was escape. Gordon passed his guard easily. I've watched a lot of Roberto Jimenez matches. He's really good, and even when people pass or get close to passing, he's able to usually make something interesting happen. He doesn't win every match. He's been submitted, whatever, but he's fun to watch. He's active, and Gordon he was like a little kid.
And then he gets him in an arm lock from the S mount. He goes easy on him. Jimenez escapes because he doesn't tap. Because Gordon's like, I gave him a second to tap, and he didn't use it, so he got out. And so the next time he basically does the same exact thing again, passes his guard, gets him an S mount, and then he breaks his arm because he's like, you don't want to tap, then I'm going to break your arm.
Yeah.
And so he broke his arm.
Yeah. Gross.
You know, but it wasn't like, it was kind of a training match that you'd see in the gym that you'd expect to see. It was not a competitive match at all. I don't see how, speaking of Gordon, I don't see how Wagner beats him at all. I think Wagner's going to get steamrolled.
I don't know.
And it's kind of fun, to be honest. It's kind of fun to watch the bullies get bullied when it comes to Wagner. What they should do, this is actually, internet, you're welcome. This is my idea.
That's what I want to see.
Kayatera?
Yeah, I want to see Kayatera Gordon Ryan.
I think, you know what happens with Kayatera? Because there's no way that Gordon's going to be able to open up that little ball. He's just going to crumple it and then throw it off the stage.
Like Space Jam at the end.
He's going to dunk Kyle. Cyborg. If they put Cyborg in the super fight instead of Galvao, that's what they should do. Because Cyborg will take that match. And it will be an awesome match. Heel hooks allowed.
Cyborg.
And they have beef too. And they have beef.
Do they have beef?
Yeah, they have big beef.
What about
Telling you, Cyborg versus Gordon super fight, Andre, just kick him out.
Pena?
That would also be an awesome match.
That's the only
That
one.
would, you know what? I think more people want to watch that match than the Andre match. I mean, at least people who care about jiu-jitsu. People who care about just seeing people get upset and fight with each other and care about just the beef, then yes, Andre's or Cyborg. But if you really want to see how good Gordon has become, I think he has to. I mean, it would be beautiful to have Payne in that match.
I don't get why. If Andre was expecting to retire after his last ADCC super fight, like, and then he's just like, F it, I'm gonna ask for $1 million. They should have had the fight this year. And then Gordon and Pena.
I mean, I think they just have to be. He's not gonna get $1 million.
Wait, last year. They should have had it last year in between the ADCCs.
Maybe, but I mean, there's just no way that he's gonna get $1 million. It's just not a realistic ask.
Especially as he gets older. Like, it's gonna be another how many months? It's taking too long. And he's gotta, once they sign the deal, he has to have time to prepare for the match. It takes like 3 months, 4 months.
He's already, I mean, he's in great shape. He's in amazing shape.
No, because he always does camps, and it takes a while for everything.
He looked like he was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
He looked like he was in pretty good
He's
shape.
in good shape compared to normal people, but like, I think when he competes as a monster, like a weird, like Space Jam.
Yeah, so you're trying to say that he needs to get on a cycle again? Is that what you're trying to say? I mean, his bicycle, right? Like,
No, he just got
his tricycle, what?
dig deep into the acai bowl. And it takes like a couple months for
Maybe the
acai
shipments from Brazil have been slowed down.
the shipment files. I don't know. It's
You know what? If
one were reliant on performance enhancing drugs,
which they all are, right?
If one were,
to some extent.
I mean, it's going to take good timing. And what's nice about ADCC is you know when it's going to be, and you can like really plan that out, like basically to the day.
Yeah.
Like when you need to. But with all this, I mean, he's getting older, and everyone else, I don't know. It's too
I
much
think
time is passing.
if I had my way, if I were running ADCC, I'd be like, Andre, good luck. If you can go find somebody to sponsor you to give you $1 million to fight
If
with
you're
Ryan,
running ADCC,
so be it.
don't you have $1 million? Isn't that like the whole
I
point of
don't
this whole
think
thing?
so.
Started with them being too rich, too much money, too
They've-
much like.
you know, I don't know the deal of like where it is now. I mean, it's been a long time since it started, and I don't know if it's supposed to be just an independent thing or, you know, the Sheikh is really directly interested in it anymore or whatever. But I mean, to him, I'm sure it's. But you know what? I'm sure he's not like, yeah, whatever. I'm getting held over the barrel by Andre Galvao, give me $1 million. He'd probably like, no, I'm not.
can't threaten me or blackmail me into
it's
giving
like-
you money.
I pictured it more of like $1 million shirt, and then he reaches into his shoe and pulls out $1 million. You know?
I don't think that's how it works.
I don't know how they live life.
That's not how generally it works, right? You don't try to hold these people up and expect to get a good result.
No, I'm just assuming that they just keep
Millions
of dollars.
Yeah,
on
but not for
their
Andre
person.
Galvao.
No,
That's
why
for their
not?
next like Ferrari.
He likes grappling, like.
Maybe. I think you know what they should do is they should just like give Andre one chance to sign the contract. That's it, and then there'll be the opinion. You can have Cyborg. I mean, you can find a couple guys that are relatively compelling. Go re-sign it with. I mean, Buchecha's gonna. I mean, you get Buchecha in there. That'd be a great match.
You know what would be really cool?
What?
Is if we could clone all these guys, like we clone Andre, we clone Gordon, and then we like raise little baby Gordon and Andre in a facility where they're dedicated to learning jujitsu and nothing else. Maybe they're ABCs, right? And we just like
Just the
develop them.
ADCCs. That's all. They don't need a baby. They just need 4 letters or 3 letters. A, D, and C.
Yeah, perfect. And then when they become of age, right? We'll put them in an arena and we'll keep cameras on them and we'll have them fight each other.
Well, if you can clone them, you just keep cloning them over and over again, and then you just keep running that same and see who the.
Like Hunger Games meets Super Mario World.
Well, maybe in 100 years they'll be able to do that and quit. I don't know. Maybe they should have Gabby as the super fight with Gordon. Maybe that's the whole thing that they're going to do. They're going to have Gabby come in and have the world's first intergender.
Russia has 5-man MMA teams. Why
Mm.
can't we do that?
We do. We have Quintet.
No, but with Quintet, they don't happen all at the same time. With the Russians, they put them in
Yeah,
a
they just-
padded room with like obstacles and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
How come they get to?
I think there's only been one season of that because they're all wrecked after.
It's all terrible. It's absolutely.
This is not good for
terrible.
athlete longevity.
Jiu-Jitsu is already really hard to watch. Imagine trying to watch 5 matches at once.
The matches on Who's Number One were pretty good. The 3 or 4 that I actually watched. I didn't watch any of the prelims. I only watched really 2. No, did I watch 3? I think I watched 3. Yeah, I watched Gordon, I watched Craig. What was the other one I watched? I watched another one. I forget who it was. But anyway, I didn't watch all. There were only like 6 or 7 anyway.
I just wanted to see.
Oh, I watched Gabby. That wasn't that much fun. That was kind of boring.
I want to make a. I don't know if with this not quintet, but this 5-person grappling idea.
Persian.
I want to Shia.
Shia. What's wrong with you?
I'm still learning how to speak. What's it called? The thought in my head is a human centipede of rear naked chokes. That's what I'm envisioning with a multi-team or a multi-person team of grappling, right? Because you have like the initial clash and stuff happens, and then eventually someone's gonna be at a point of disadvantage, right? Someone's getting rear naked choked.
And then
And then their teammates like, oh crap, Johnny, and then they jump on that guy.
Johnny.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But then can you have a guillotine? If somebody locks on a guillotine?
No, it's going to be a spontaneous emergence of a rear naked choke crystal, right? And it's just people just hopping on the last person trying to save the person in front of them. And that's what I want to see from a match sometime.
All right. Well.
But you can only get that from like a 5-man team of grappling specifically, maybe MMA. But they have the boxing gloves, which is pretty lame. Anyway,
That's your thought.
that's what's going on in my head
All
right
right,
now.
all right.
Thank you for participating.
All right, yeah. Weird.
You don't want to see a human centipede of rear naked choke?
I'm uncomfortable with the whole idea of a human centipede.
That's the word I was struggling with. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it.
Yeah. I mean.
I don't know what else.
It's got some
to call it.
negative connotations
It
these
does,
days.
but like, what's the better word for it? Like,
I don't know, but
Let's not talk about centipedes
maybe
anymore.
human millipede.
no, that too.
That implies that there are more legs, I think.
I think tomorrow. What's the code word for today?
Centipede.
No. Slap. Slap is the code word for today.
Ooh, could it be? What did 5 fingers say to face?
Slap. The memes have been just totally vicious.
Yeah.
Totally vicious. There was one, even Ken, Master Ken with the crotch.
Yeah.
He did one. Yeah. So you know Gordon is now like made.
Is that all that guy does?
I don't know. Maybe he's really good at jiu-jitsu, but he does. That's his whole thing. I don't know. He maybe have
Like he owns a martial arts school, I assume.
I don't know. Maybe he's just some actor. I don't know.
That'd be weird.
I actually don't think it's that funny, right? I mean, it's not funny.
Well,
enough.
it's because it's been 10 years, right?
It's
Like
been-
he's still putting up. That's what I'm wondering. Like, is that all he does?
I think he does like custom content too. I think he'll do. If you like call him up, and pay him money, he'll do
Yeah.
something for you, right? He'll do your birthday party. Or something. I don't know.
I've seen astronauts give messages. I don't know.
Yeah, he does. I think he does that sort of stuff. He's now become like internet famous.
How do I become one of those people?
You have to come up with a shtick like he did
I'm not an
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, the memes have been pretty good. I don't know. You know, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see the fallout. You know, this has been. And you know what's interesting is that there's been no comment that I've seen from Andre or anybody in Atos.
Oh yeah.
There's been nothing.
I want to see
Even Gordon's been oddly quiet about the whole thing.
Yeah.
No.
I want to see Gordon in a debate, like where he talks.
Why?
Cause I think he talks funny. In a way, not in a bad
I hope you're not
way.
insulting
I'm
Gordon
not,
Ryan.
I'm not insulting him. I think, I don't know. I listening to him talk to Andre, I think like piqued my interest. Like the way he says things is, I think, kind of fascinating. Especially when juxtaposed with like his online personality and like who he
I think
is.
there's a reason why these guys are valued for their grappling, which does not involve any talking whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't make their money with their at the end of the day.
Like,
They might promote a little bit. But
He's
I didn't actually listening to either of them. I didn't say like I want to hear more.
I don't know, like Gordon looks. He gives me the impression that he's in recent years improved on his speaking ability, and not that I have.
He spent a lot more time. He spent a lot more time in front of the camera.
Yeah,
For
which
sure.
I think it's fun, but I don't know. Gordon's personality, I think, is so interesting because it makes it's atypical. I feel like he reminds me of a person who. No, I don't want to say that. Like the whole the idea that he wanted to get revenge on was it Wagner Hocha?
Yeah.
Wagner.
Wagner.
To me, that screams of a person who like used to be picked on a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
For sure.
and now that they're in this place, and they're just like kind of getting used to being in that role of someone who can like talk shit and
Yeah.
kind of back it up. And I don't know, it's interesting to watch someone like develop as that type of character.
I think, you know, it's interesting, in jiu-jitsu, the sport is still dominated by Brazilians,
Yeah.
right? I mean, almost every way. Abu Dhabi is like one of the rare instances, but even there, it's still fully, you know, there's a lot of Brazilian influence, you know, both like influence, but then specific influence, right? About how things work and who gets what, and, you know, who's gonna get invited and who's not gonna get invited. There's a lot of politics, but the sport is still heavily controlled by Brazilians, and I think they, you know, they carry, and this is something I think that's evident in Galvao, right? Like where he just assumes that people will be respectful to him. Now he's earned that respect, right? Like I don't dispute, but it's not because he's Brazilian, therefore you should respect him. But I think in the sport in general, I think there's a lot of like privilege, if we're gonna do like Brazilian privilege.
Well, I was gonna go the opposite because like I think if I were to compare the two, Andre's from a rougher place where respect is probably more important and more like
Maybe.
maybe not.
But what I'm saying is from Gordon. Now, Gordon doesn't know any of that stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
Gordon just knows he's an American kid coming up in a sport that's dominated by Brazilians, and a lot of Brazilians who like use that kind of influence, right? Like we always joke about, you know, you get points scored against you, or you don't get points scored for you when you're up against a Brazilian, or you know, whatever
The
it
American
is.
penalty.
What's that?
The American penalty.
You know, yeah. So, you know, if you're an American superstar and you feel like you're being disrespected by a bunch of Brazilians, like you're probably gonna like swing the other way once you have the upper hand.
Once you have the upper hand.
You know, and then start talking smack to everybody, right? That you think has insulted you
Yeah.
or you know slighted you over the years. And he definitely did not get a lot of respect. And he's really run with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, nobody saw him winning the first Abu Dhabi. I don't think anyone picked him for that.
When did that happen?
Like 4 years ago.
4?
You know, and then last year, I don't think anyone picked him to win the absolute, which I don't think is a bad pick. I mean, you got Buchecha waiting for you at the end of that. So I think that's a tough win, right? To call.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's disrespectful to be like, no, you're not going to beat. You know, we don't expect you to beat Buchecha. Buchecha's got to be the favorite in every match he ever enters. Maybe not anymore, but.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This is going to be fun.
I remember Buchecha being
Buchecha?
being the guy who I think maybe not beat Andre the hardest, but one of the most memorable losses that Andre experienced from my perspective.
I mean, Andre's a big dude. Like, he's not tall, but he's like a very stout, strong guy. Buchecha is like as stout and like
Bigger.
a foot taller,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he is just a legit big dude.
Yeah, Andre called him a horse, I remember. Like a fucking bronco.
He is I
And
mean,
if Andre is calling you, comparing you to a horse, that would be the strongest person on the planet.
you know, like the whole match with Gordon and Buchecha was that's a not fun to watch match, but it was a classic match, right? I mean, that, to me, I don't think there's even though he did not submit Buchecha, I mean, that's pretty impressive that he was able to beat him.
Yeah.
I mean, and like at some point, Buchecha just gave up even trying to pass his guard. There was that moment in the match which I actually love, is the moment, and one of my favorite moments in all of jiu-jitsu, where Buchecha goes for like a heel hook or a footlock or something, and like they both just laugh at each other, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was like, in a way, it's like that's kind of the nicest. That's like the nice side of jiu-jitsu and the nice side of, right? Like you have two guys that are at the top, at the highest, like the absolute championship match of jiu-jitsu, right? And then in the middle of this hotly contested match, which is super razor thin, close between two
If
dudes.
he's going after heel hooks, how razor thin do you think it is?
Well, it's one of those things where typically what you see are two guys who just go full beast mode on each other.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? I don't have any problem with that. But I thought it was very charming to see these two guys that were the best of the best in that moment, deciding amongst themselves who was gonna, and just having that like little like moment of really understanding and respect, and just having a laugh, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was probably one of the nicest things in jiu-jitsu, and I definitely didn't. It was funny because you don't lose any respect for those guys in that moment. They're both, like they're the best of the best. It's kind of like, I don't know, I always take it back to basketball. It's Larry and Magic, or Jordan and whatever. Jordan. I don't know who else was even in Jordan's league at that time. But no, LeBron was
They
later.
met, didn't they?
No, I don't think they overlapped.
Even when Jordan was on the Wizards?
No, I think LeBron was after that. It'd be kind of like Jordan and Kobe. I think that would have been. Even though I don't know that they were ever.
Yeah. Kobe was a rookie, I think.
Maybe. I mean, that was like truly a passing. This wasn't two guys. It was never like Jordan against Kobe when they were both like at their prime. Whereas, I think Buchecha is still in his prime right now.
Really? Hasn't
He's not young anymore, but
he's been in his prime since.
But he hasn't. He just wins. He wins like almost everything.
Yeah. Weird.
All right. Word of the day is slap.
Slap.
All right. Hopefully my back will be better tomorrow. I can start doing some exercising again. All right, guys. What do you think? Tell us your opinions. I don't know what that is. Stop. Sorry.